Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today we are going to be building a brand new project, but we're going to get a bit of a jump start because we built this Wall Street Bets analyzer a few videos ago. We're going to take that project and basically mold and modify it for our new project. So let me just introduce the background here. If you live in North America or Canada, you'll know that Vancouver and Toronto have always been very hot cities for real estate. It's very expensive to purchase a property. But lately, and these are both very recent articles, the market has just gone nuts in Vancouver. I don't know about Toronto. I think it's true for Toronto as well. But people are just bidding and bidding and bidding up the properties in Vancouver, just buying whatever they can, whatever flaw there is with the property, they'll live with it, and you have these bidding wars. This home had 41 bids. You know, that is a lot. And then we have here this article that said a sale went $1.6 million over the asking price, and another one went $700,000 higher. And you know, the question is where do you go from there? Like, if I go and want to buy, say, a house next door, and it has a $1.3 million price tag, how do I know what the actual price is if potentially it could be $1.6 million higher than that? I'm sure I'm making assumptions here because these are probably very expensive houses, not a 1.3 that doubled in price. But the point stands that it's a very, very hot market right now. And one of the issues is real estate has never been very well regulated here in Vancouver or British Columbia. And so I think it's fair to say that not a whole lot of people like their real estate agents, and there's always the suspicion of something underhanded going on. And 41 bids, like almost certainly this particular home has underpriced, so has put in an asking price lower than the market value to try and push up the number of bids, to then go to each bidder and say, you need to bid higher. There's 40 or 41 other people interested in this property. And the whole point is it's not an RFP in a government contract. There is no transparency. If I sell a house, I can pick someone who offered a lower bid just because I don't like somebody else. I can keep most of the information fairly secret. And so even if all the bids are lower, I can still go to the highest bidder and say things like, you need to push it up. Like it's a Wild West area where I think it's fair to say there's a lot of, even if it's not underhanded, not the most honest tactics going on. So that's where this kind of project comes in. What I want to do is build something like our Wall Street Bets page. This is a single page application. I want to put up a chart and basically allow users to submit what they know about the market. They can put in a property, address. They can then tell us how many bids, and basically we put it up on the site. That's all I am looking to do. The longer term view of this, and okay, let me just rewind for a sec. One of the easiest way to do this without all this programming stuff is put in a Google Sheets page. An online spreadsheet will do just as fine. But the longer term view of this is potentially we can squeeze and manipulate this data. We can squeeze and manipulate this data so that we have some pretty charts and graphs that show over time the activity. But I think more interestingly is we may be able to run it through machine learning or just some regression algorithms to determine what is the proper price, what is the bid, what do the bids look like. And so this certainly depends on the quality, quantity of the data and whether it even pans out. But my thought is, if we ask for the property address, if we ask for the price and the number of bids, we can also fill out how much it's sold for after the fact. That's relatively easy information to get a hold of. And then we can run an analysis, because when I look at something like this, where a sale went $1.6 million over the asking price, I think about, well, if I want to buy, a condo tomorrow, where do I even begin to bid? I see an asking price of, let's say, $700,000 or $800,000. Where do I even start? Do I just put in 1.6 million higher than what the asking price is? Like, what is the right bidding? And you have to understand that when you buy a house, at least in Vancouver, this isn't like eBay. There is zero transparency. You give the realtor on the other side an offer, they kind of tell you things that you have to believe or not, that there's 41 bids and you should bid higher or else you're not going to get an accepted offer. All of that stuff, there is zero transparency. So part of the game is, what is a fair bid? And I am very curious to see whether there's any kind of correlation between the number of bids and the price differential. But long story short, I just want to build something where a user can submit what they've heard, say, from their realtors, from their friends, about property, number of bids, and the asking price. So what I've done so far is I've taken my folder of Wall Street bets, the Rocket Analyzer here. I think we're going to look and reference the Rocket Analyzer, but we're actually going to just use the API test. So I've copied that over to a new folder and opened a new page, opened a new VS Code page with it up. So we're just going to get started. Okay, I am going to jump in here really quickly to show you what I've been doing. So basically what we're trying to do is use Fast API to connect to an Azure table service. We have 3 API calls. The first one is not going to be public, but it's just the easiest way for me to do this. It's setting up the table. And if you remember right, and I had to wrap my head around this really quickly, when we were working on Wall Street Bets, we had this table that just kept incrementing one at a time. It's the easiest way for us to Oh, I should probably put in a date as well. So due date. It's the easiest way to keep track of what's new and what's not, just a sequential key, sequential row key. So row 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you get newer, you get larger numbers. Very obvious. What that means, well, the problem is Azure doesn't have like an auto incrementing feature. So we had to use a different submission. So we have one table that keeps incrementing, but another table with just one row that keeps a running count of how many there are. So every time I update the table, I also update this one to say there's 3, there's 4, there's 5 rows, so that the next time I can fetch that one number so that we can update the table afterwards, so we get the running count as we go. I'm 100% sure there's a better way of doing this, but let's keep it simple, stupid. I got add date, but the fields I have is street address, city, housing type, so whether it's a house or a condo or a duplex or whatever, the asking price, the number of bids, and I have this one here, MLS reference. I don't know what MLS stands for. But it's like the realtor's system. And I think if I go okay. Oh, I did that completely off screen. Oh, that's not helpful. Here we go. The MLS number is like a reference number. If you go to realtor.ca or if you use their system, they seem to have like an internal tracking system. So the hope is that if they are able to supply that number, and I've kept it optional, in the future, I may be able to pull information back in. You'll notice I did everything commented out. This is terrible idea, but since we've had working code in the past, like I'm okay. I'm probably making spelling mistakes as I go, but I didn't actually deploy anything. I don't have a table live yet, so I didn't want to accidentally run it and destroy existing tables. So I got to update the secrets file. I got to deploy this, update the secrets file so it points to the right place. And so on. Okay, so setting up the table, that's just creating the table, putting in the first items. Probably the first one I would call is post bid, which is to put a bid up. And all it does is create this entity with, a street address, a city, a type, and all of those things, and push it onto the table. And then recent bids will fetch the top 10 most recent ones, the top 5 most recent ones. I put in a max here because I think early on I'll have difficulty finding enough bids, and somebody is going to want what are the last 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 rows, and it's just going to crash my API. So let's put in a max in there. Sorry, min. Minimum will put in a max so that it'll pick the lower of how many entries I have or the number of bids. But same thing, it's just gonna fetch each row, put it into a dictionary, and then we're gonna have a list of these dictionaries as an output. So I am going to need to push this up, and then we're going to do a test, and then we got to do our single page application afterwards. Okay. Oh, I'm very blurry. Here we go. Okay, so what have we done now? We have finally actually deployed it onto Azure. We just used the plugin from VS Code, deployed it with all the same settings we're very used to now. And what we did was copy over the keys to the secrets file. I obviously can't share my logins and access codes, but you can see that I reference them here from the secrets file. And we finally have it running. So I had to do a bit of troubleshooting just because of the +1, -1. I had it all set up, but I was stupidly calling it with only 1. And so obviously it only shows up 1, but I kept thinking, why is it not showing 2 or 3 or 2 different posts? Now you'll see obviously that we have 2 of the same ones. I pulled it from this article. That's just for my own duplication. The other little trouble I had was, of course, the optional MLS key. It kept throwing out an error because if I look for entity.mls reference when it's empty, Python doesn't like that. So we caught it here instead. So if it exists, then we'll put it in. Otherwise, it's just a none. And I think that gives us a null value. Perfect. Null value. Okay, so what that means is right now, if I actually deploy this, probably should have done that first, to my van bids function, I should be able to do the same thing online with an endpoint from Microsoft. But what I wanted to say is that the next step is actually to start building a page. And we already have a fantastic starting point with this Wall Street Bets page. So remember this one, we already have a chart, we already have a design, so we can start here. So let's remove the crazy rocket emojis and start with Vancouver Real Estate Bid Tracker. I have the driest names possible, but I think that's an accurate description. We are that is very interesting. Oh, I see. We only had 2 elements, so it's nice and simple, but this one we're going to have more elements instead. So let's look back because I have horrible memory all the time. Oh no, that's the wrong page. Just gonna copy this over here. Okay, so we have date. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Date submitted. Street address. Street address. City. Housing type. I think they call it construction. I'll have to change that. I don't really know my terminology here. Asking price, number of bids. Asking price. number of bids and MLS number. Okay, so let's go here and move this home page over here. Okay, that looks just fine. Okay, now when we do this, we're gonna have a whole bunch of elements. We're going to have to split this up. I think this is a really ugly way of doing this, but okay. I have been talking for a while. I was just trying to buy time so we can go to the actual page here. Just to confirm that works. And perfect. Okay, so we will work on the home page now. I think we can call it a day now. I did struggle a little bit. It's a poor idea to use a form when you don't want to actually do it properly. And so normally when you have a form, you submit it and then it goes on to a next page. And so when you're doing a single page application, a form's a really bad idea because you gotta catch it, you gotta stop it. But I wanted to keep the form in there so I can validate it, so that when I see that it's empty, I can, pop out that that they need to fill out the page. But other than that, it's pretty simple. We had the API calls. We have two API calls right when you load the page. First, you get the most recent 20 or less bids so you can see on the page. Then Oh, I should probably update the text here. Then you get the date of the most recent bid. And then we have this whole chunk of basically a form so that you can fill out 123 Fake Street, Vancouver. We'll call this a duplex with a $8.5 million asking price. It's a mansion with just 2 bids. How many people can afford that? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for an MLS number. When you submit it and it's successful, you say thank you for your submission and you're good. And then the next time they refresh it, you'll see that 123 Fake Street is the bottom here. Now, what I don't like too much is here. I think I'm not supposed to reverse this output anymore. This isn't Reddit. So I will just deploy this in the background. But you can see we use Bootstrap and jQuery, and we very closely tracked what we did with Wall Street Bets. So we were able to create this very simple website in a very short amount of time. Just reusing what we've done in the past. And so you can imagine that building something like this has a lot of applicability. You can start tracking, I don't know, anything really. I struggle, but let's say you want to keep an inventory and you want to have your friends be able to make these changes, to add things to the to your inventory, or maybe a bulletin board or something like that. This is all very applicable. The one thing I think may be missing is maybe a delete button along the way. I don't want to give my viewers that ability, my users, but maybe on an admin page, it would be very helpful to have some delete buttons for me to do this, rather than either doing it programmatically or using Microsoft Azure to do it. So, this is basically it. I just wanted to show you guys that you can take an existing project and you can change it up to build something new and something useful. Something like this, again, you can twist and turn this into a lot of useful applications, but it really does make you think. Like, you want to keep building. You want to keep building small projects, big projects, so that you have a library, you're learning along the way. But really what's important is when you have a great idea, you can start taking bits and pieces of things you've already built to make your idea faster. And so I think I have so many friends that are always like, oh, you know what would be a great $1 million idea? We should build, the Uber for helicopters or whatever. And when you start there and you go, oh, but I have to learn how to program, or I got to start building this from scratch, it becomes very daunting. But if you start thinking, hey, I already know a little bit about how to build a web page. Hey, I have something about how we can store information on the cloud, and I know how to retrieve that, and I already have bits and pieces of a project. It's super useful. And so we were able to do this, I think, in under 2 hours, and if it's over, it's very little over. And so if you are in Vancouver, I am hoping to put this up somewhere, and we should populate this as much as possible. Now that I'm looking at it, certainly there are things I can make better. Number one, like, nobody puts in numbers like this, so we want to have commas. We probably want to get rid of the nulls, but the idea is really simple. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and if you didn't, please give me a comment. I love feedback, and I definitely want to make more videos tailored to what you guys want to watch. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video next week.